I got the heater blasting on this rear tire that was locking up, and I think I've identified the problem. It's full of frozen water. That's why it wouldn't turn. See all that water coming out of there? All this ice down there? Darn thing's full of water. So I'm guessing that the rear seal's bad, or it might be the issue right there that's letting the water in. But I guess I gotta tear this all apart back here now and figure it out. I'm pretty sure this is where the water's getting in. Look at how sloppy that is. That seal is completely shot. So, fortunately, the door donor truck has a good one. So, I'm gonna pull this off and then go pull that off that truck, put it on, and we should be good to go. Okay, I think I found another reason why this wheel was locking up, and it's right here. This spring, I believe, and again, I'm not a mechanic, I believe it's supposed to hold those two shoes together, and then this right here, this piston, will push them out when you apply the brakes. It's a hydraulic piston. And then the spring pulls them back together. Well, when I pulled the hub off, that spring broke off and laying there, right next to the wasp nest. So I think that's the problem. New spring, pull it back together, maybe it'll work. We'll see. That's where we're at. Yes, it's very dirty in there. Some more wasp nest stuff, rust. So what I think I'm going to do, look at the inside of this brake drum. See how chewed up that is? So I'm going to clean the inside of that. I'm going to clean and lube everything up there, get it so it's moving freely again, and then put it all back together, and hopefully that will fix the wheel locking up problem. Not going to guarantee brakes are going to work great or at all, but that should take care of one of the problems. And then if I have to get some more components here and fix it better, I will. But it's kind of the plan for now, just get that all cleaned up. So I'll check back in once it's all cleaned up. All right, I got it all cleaned up, and I think I'm going to run to the parts store and get that spring. And I'm not real confident that this hydraulic cylinder still works anymore. It's kind of blocky, rusty looking. So if they have that, I might grab one of those too. But for now, at least, if I get the spring put back on there, that'll keep the wheel from locking up, and we'll be one step closer. Also need to get some brake fluid. I got a new master cylinder. Let me grab my flashlight here. Got a new master cylinder put on. Right there. Oop, right there. But I need to get some hydraulic fluid for it. Or, sorry, brake fluid. And then I think what I'm going to start doing is bleeding the brakes. So get the spring put back on that one. Bleed all the brakes and then see if they're actually working. If that's not working, then we'll obviously have to replace that. And then I'll probably go around to the other wheels and look at those too and see what kind of condition they're in. So here's the spring right here that fell out of there when I opened that up. See, clearly broken, clearly what the problem was. But the whole ice problem and water in there, that was an issue too. And again, that is coming from right there. Kind of hard to get that off. I've been working on it. I got the PB blaster soaking into it. So if I can get that off and then get that piece off and get the one off the other truck and put it on there, then that seal will be good. Water should stop getting in. And then all that water that ran out and into this bucket we'll stop having that problem. All the ice that was in there. So that's the plan for now. Going to the parts store to get a spring. I'll be back when I get back. Well, the parts store didn't have the spring I needed. Go figure. So I'm stealing it off the old door donor truck. So should have the same one here. I'll be back when I get it off. Okay, got that off finally. Man, that was on there. And right there is the spring I need. So I'm gonna get that pulled off and we should be back in business. All right, I got the spring put back on, old Blackie, and I had to put this wheel cylinder from the door donor truck on here too, because if you look at this one, see how far out each one of these ends were driven? That was pushed so far out that I could not get that spring on there. And this one is all rusted up, so I'm not sure really even either one of these work. But anyway, I was able to get it put back together. Now we can get brake fluid in and try to bleed the systems and see if I can get these to work. This you're supposed to be able to turn these and drive those back out to adjust the brakes. So I'll have to do that. This one was, the original on old Blackie was adjusted out to the max, but it's so rusted up they wouldn't turn and come back in. So, all right, that's where we're at. I got some grease right here, and I'm gonna repack those wheel bearings before I stick that back on. So right now, I'm just trying to get everything put back together that I tore apart so that I could start the brake bleeding process. Okay, I got it all put back together right there. The axle back in, everything greased, wheel bearings greased, axle greased. Everything tightened back down, brakes are on, springs on, and then I got the inside of this hub cleaned out. And it fits back on there and the wheel turns. So problem solved as far as the wheel locking up. Now we'll just have to see if there's enough travel in that to actually have the brakes engage against the walls of this this here. So that's the next step. We're going to get into, I'm going to put some brake fluid in the master cylinder and then just start bleeding. Got to back off all the bleeders, spray them down with some peanut butter right there. Back that out so we can get everything bled and then see if we have brakes. Okay, adding some brake fluid and then we'll start bleeding. Doesn't take much, but all right, I'll keep you updated on the process. So right now I got the bleeders open on the back, so we'll get those lines done first. Hopefully there's no leaks, and then I'll do the front ones next, and then we'll see where we're at. Well, I started bleeding and it was pouring out on the ground. You can see this line right here. Reach it. Anyway, that line right there is broken. Right there. So it all started coming out there. So I'm going to need new brake lines before I can do anything else with the brakes. Also found out while I was at it that you got radiator leakage. So it's coming out right there. There's a hole right up in there. Not down toward the bottom, which is good, but once it gets hot, it's gonna spit out right there. I don't know if I can seal it or if I need a new radiator. So, one thing after another with this truck, but that's where we're at. Nabbit. Here's a better look at that brake line. This is on the driver's side. And then where it goes underneath the fan there to the other side, it's just rusted off. And I don't know if you can see it down through there, but there's the other end of it. Right down in there. So I need to get a new line for that. But I think I figured out the radiator leaking problem, because if you remember in like episode 1, when I took that radiator out, or episode 2, whenever it was, It was completely full of clean, almost brand new looking radiator fluid after sitting for 25 years. So there was no leaks at that point. But you can see leakage running all the way down. And then if you look at the front, you can see it's wet. Look at that, all the way across there, leaks. So I think I figured out what might be the problem. You can see that bracket down there broken. That's the mount that holds this. And then also, if you see this whole fender on this side structurally is bolted to the radiator right here. So this whole fender is hanging on that radiator, and I think just towing it around, moving it around, has torqued this and twisted it and caused it to break. Because at this point, the radiator is a structural part of the front end of this truck. It's holding the two sides together. So I priced out a new one. It's $499 for a new radiator, original style, but I'm gonna have to do something about this structural issue before I get a new radiator. Otherwise I put a new one in, the same thing's gonna happen if both sides of the truck are hanging on it. So I keep taking one step forward and two steps back with this as I work on it and finding all these new things. Another thing, there's a problem with the transmission too, because yesterday Casey and I started it up, and with it in neutral, right here, neutral, the back wheel spun, which is good. The back wheel was locked up, so I got that problem taken care of. Back wheel turns just fine, but it turns in neutral, which means something in the transmission. So I gotta take that top part off right there, go down in there, try to figure that out. Just like right now it's in, I don't know, first gear or something, just sitting in neutral. So it's probably those levers in there didn't line back up where they're supposed to when I stuck it back on. So that one's probably on me, but I need to figure that out because that's a problem. But the clutch is good, clutch works good. Came back from the shop, everything's good there. But yeah, that transmission is gonna be an issue. Radiator is gonna be an issue. Brake line is gonna be an issue. Probably need all new wheel cylinders, I'm thinking. Showed you the one here yesterday that I took out and then stole one off the door donor truck. Right here. These, I don't know. I just don't think that's gonna be any good. Might surprise me, might work, but it looks kind of like a block of rust, so might need to get new ones of those. So keep running into more and more stuff with this thing. So until I get all of that done, I can't really start building it back up. I wanted to start building it back up. Oh, also, I mentioned yesterday about the fan, putting a fan belt in to kill some time. Well, strike 3 on fan belts. None of these work. This one's too small, this one's too fat, this one's too long. So I think I finally got it figured. This is the original style, but the problem was when I went to the alternator, the original size doesn't work anymore because that alternator sits out further than what the generator did. So I need to go and get one that's like the original style, but about 2 or 3 inches longer. So that's what I got going on. That's where we're at. I'm gonna keep plugging away, keep the feet moving. Hopefully by early summer, I'll have this thing to where I can bring it back down to the farm and dump it off, and it'd be an old farm truck again. But got a ways to go. Okay, I'm out here at the door donor truck, and this is a really good look at exactly the same place that old Blackie's brake line is broken, right there. So I came out here to think, hey, maybe I can go grab the line off of that. But nope, broken in the same spot. So it sits down in this little trough here underneath the radiator, which as you can see is full of dirt, which turns to mud, and then that line just rusts and breaks off. So I need to get a line from here on old Blackie, this line right here, that goes over to there, right there. So that's what I'm looking at. And I could go pull it off the green truck, but I really don't want to. Let's see if I can find like some maybe universal aftermarket standard thing, because it's Sunday and the classic parts store is not open. So back with more. So I started noticing it was awful wet down there, and reached in here right up under the water pump, and that's leaking too. So needs a new water pump along with the radiator. That's $129. Radiator's about $500. So one step forward, and I was saying one step forward, 2 steps back, but it's like 1 step forward and about 6 steps back. You see that drip coming down? See that? Yep. Bad water pump. Drain in the radiator. Here we go. I guess it's not time to build it back up. The tear down continues. Great. Perfect. Okay, so here's my punch list of things to do. First of all, with the brakes, I need to replace all 4 wheel cylinders and brake lines, which I'm getting a brake line kit to do that. I need to bleed and adjust all the brakes. The transmission, I need to adjust the transmission to figure out why that tire is spinning with it in neutral. I got to change the transmission fluid. I got to replace the rear differential seals both on the front and the back. The drive shaft seal, then I got to drain and refill that. I got the new piece on the old door truck that I'm going to pull off and put on there, but I don't have the right size socket for the big castle nut that holds that on. For the body work, I got to put floor panels in, kickboards in, put the cab corners on. I got to fix a dent in the fender right there. I got to install the fender on the other side. I got to finish leveling the cab out, including the fender. It's still crooked up toward the front. The cab on the back side is good, but the front side is not. I need a new radiator bracket because it's a structural component and that one's broken. I need to finish painting and sealing. I'm going to sand the primer that I put on, paint with the final, and then seal it. I got to finish painting under the frame with the rust paint because I didn't do that yet. I got to paint the rust wheels right there, so sand and paint those down with rust. And then the doors, I got to finish those. I got to grease all the mechanisms on the inside, and I got some spray grease to spray in there and hit the channels and all that kind of stuff. I got to finish painting. I got to install the handles, and there's like 2 more handles I got to buy because a couple of them were no good. I got to install the door panels, and then I got to stick the elbow rest on. For the radiator, got to put a new radiator in. Got to put a new water pump in. The electrical, I got to wire in the alternator because I haven't done that yet. I got to put the light switch in. I'm going to relocate the battery, so I got to put the battery box in to relocate that. I got to wire in an actual key. I need to rewire the fuel sender, the horn, and the dome light, and then a couple miscellaneous things. I got a new choke cable I got to install. I got to fix that blow-by issue. And then lastly, it needs new tires. So that's my punch list of things to do between now and I'm shooting for Memorial Day. Hopefully get it done by then. But I only have some weekends here and there to work on it. So I don't know. Don't know if I'm going to make it. Okay, I'm back. It's actually been 2 weeks since I've been able to work on old Blackie. So today I'm going to tear down this radiator, take it back out, pull the water pump off, and start working on that. I did think of one thing though in the 2 weeks while I was busy doing other things. This piece right here will also help once I get that new bracket to mount the radiator on. When I put this piece on, over it goes, it's going to help hold those 2 sides together and help support and secure that radiator. So that will help along with the new bracket. And so hopefully with the new radiator, we won't have those same problems with just the torque and the stress on that causing little cracks and leaks. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm gonna get all that pulled off and then see exactly what I need as far as mounting stuff. So I'll update once I start getting it torn down. Okay, got the radiator back out. You can see better now where that brake line was broken, right there. So, all right, next, gotta get the horns off. Gotta get these brackets off, which incidentally bolt to the fender. All right, got everything pulled off. I'm ready for the new brackets. Got it pulled off down there. You can see them laying right there, the busted one. Got it all pulled off, everything cleaned off, got the water pump off. I got that brake line right there loosened up so that I'm gonna go buy a new water pump, a new radiator, a new brake line, a new seal, a couple other things. Come back, put it all back together, and then this should be ready to rock and roll, hopefully. We'll have fixed that one problem and probably discover about 6 more in the process, but I'm gonna do that, and then we'll have that at least mechanically running back together again. And then we'll go back to work on the other stuff. So it's time for a run to the parts store. All right, got the front brake drum pulled off. And guess what? That spring is broken too. So, need to get some new springs. I'm gonna take this off and take it with me to the parts store so that I make sure I get the right one, because there's multiple different variations based on it's a half ton, 3/4 ton, what year. So I'm gonna make sure I get the right one. And then some of those springs. These shoes right here, man, look at how worn that is. That's not that great. So probably need new ones of those too, but I might try to pull those off the door donor truck, see if they're any better. Also see if there's a spring on there. But I know I'm gonna need this, so. I just thought of that before I ran to the store to get the radiator part stuff. I thought I need to get these too, so I'm gonna make sure I got the right one. So, all right, now I'm off to the store for real this time. All right, I'm out here at the door donor truck. So I just got back from the parts store, and 2 things they didn't have that were on my list that I need were the brake lines. So I'm going to steal this line right here off, and hopefully it's not too rusted out. Hopefully it doesn't have any holes in it, but hopefully it's not too rusted out that I can't bend it into the shape I need, but it looks like it's about the right length. So I'm going to try that. They can get the brake lines, but it's like a 3 weeks to order them, and then that'll hold up everything I'm trying to do. So we'll pull that brake line off. And then also, they didn't have the springs. Really nowhere has the springs. So I'm going to pull that spring off the front brake of this truck. So this truck's turned out to be a pretty good source of things I need. We'll see. We'll see if it works, but that's where I'm at now. So I'll check back in once I get all these pulled off and start putting them on old Blackie. Okay, so that didn't work. It was way too rusted, and as soon as I started wrenching on it, it just snapped off. So probably better that it snapped off here and not when you're going down the road at 50 miles an hour. Okay, spring is good there, so I should have 1 wheel on old Blackie that's actually good. We'll see. All right, got the new wheel cylinder stuck on old Blackie, and I'm gonna adjust it after I get the wheel back on, but you adjust it right back through here. But new wheel cylinder, and then the spring from the door donor truck, because the one off of here was broken. So this one should be good to go. The pads are pretty worn down. They were about the same on the door donor truck. I went ahead and grabbed them and brought them in. So as you can see, I guess they're a little bit better. Not a whole lot, but I'm not going to screw around with trying to switch them out right now. I'm just going to go with it, and at some point down the road, we can take care of that if we need to. Okay, got the passenger side wheel pulled off now and brakes. And I tell you what, if you got an issue with spiders, you probably don't want to be a brake guy, because They love building their homes inside wheel hubs, inside the brakes. So guess what? No surprise. A broken spring on this side, so that means I'm gonna have to go out to the freaking door donor truck, open that up, pull another front wheel off of that, and hopefully the spring is good there, because you can't find those darn springs. So that's where I'm at. One thing I'm going to point out here on the front passenger side, there is no brake pads there. None whatsoever on either side. So this has just been metal on metal the last time it drove. It was metal on metal. So I did pull the shoes off the parts donor truck right here. And as you can see, much better pad there. So I'm going to stick these back on when I stick that back together. So should have good brakes there, but I got to go out and pull that spring off now. Well, the last one, the right rear tire, got all the other ones fixed, but guess what? When I open this, ta-da, broken spring. So back out to the door donor truck to pull off the tire, pull off the hub, pull off the spring. The good news is there's a whole lot of brake pad left. Probably wasn't even being used. It was all that right front one that was wore down to the metal. That's the only thing that was stopping this truck. So, all right. I got all the brakes done, all the way up to the right rear tire. And I tried to go out. I could not get the brake drum pulled off of the door donor truck. It was locked up on there, which tells me the brakes are locked and the spring's probably broken on that one because the wheel wouldn't turn anyway. So I'm at a standstill now on the brake job. I'll have to wait. I had to special order a spring for this because that's the only thing I'm missing there is the spring. So when the spring gets in, I can finish the brakes, then adjust them out, bleed them, get them all ready to go. So for now, since I'm kind of at a standstill on that one, I'm going to go back to work on putting the radiator, water pump back in, radiator bracket mounting stuff back in, all that back in. I also had to special order a brake line. So I actually ordered a brake line kit. It's only like 36 bucks, but it comes with like a tool for flanching, kind of like a propane line tool for flaring out the end, and it comes with a bunch of fittings and a bending tool because you see that line has to be bent from back in there, bent down under this, back up over there, and then a 90-degree turn to the right going out toward the wheel over there. So that's supposed to all be in Monday, so it'll be a next weekend project. But for now, get the radiator, bracket, and all that stuck back in today, and hopefully get this thing running. I also got a bottle of this, which is supposed to be like a compression and blow-by repair oil. So you pour that down in there, and it helps with the rings and compression and seals everything up. And so that all that smoke I was getting a while back when I was revving it up and all that blow-by should take care of that. Which really, with this thing, an old farm truck is all I'm trying to get it to where it drives around. I don't care if it smokes a little, leaks a little oil, burns a little oil. It's not going to be brand new condition. Said that from the get-go. So that's the plan today. I'll see if I can get all that put back together and then throw it on a video and get it posted because I haven't been able to do anything in a couple of weeks. So that's the plan for today. I'll check back in when I make some more progress. Okay, update. Got the radiator mount put in. It's nice and solid, not broken like that one. And should be much better. And in doing so, it lifted this fender up so it's leveled back out again, supported very strong. Old Blackie did not have this piece, but it came with that radiator mount kit. It goes right there, so that'll help hold the two sides together, so we shouldn't have that problem. And then also this piece will go back on top of that. So that should be plenty strong, and we shouldn't have any more radiator problems. So I'm going to go ahead and get the water pump put on next while I got it all open and easy access. And then I'll work on putting the other stuff back on. So do an update here in a minute. All right, check this out. So I got the water pump in and I got the belt put on. 4th time is the charm. That's the 4th belt I've got for this. And and it barely works. Look, that's almost maxed out right there. But it works. So, good news story there. All right, I'm gonna put the fan back on, and then I'm gonna, since I'm taking the heater out over here, I'm gonna take this hose and then loop it back around to here just so it runs, from here, taking the heater hose out and loop it back around to here. Because I'm taking that heater out and I'm gonna put a battery box right there. That way the pump will just pump a loop instead of pumping it through that old heater over there that didn't work. So, fan back on, hose looped, and then I'll start working on putting the radiator in. Well, I went all Sasquatch tightening the fan down and broke the bolt off right there. So I got to drill that out now. Luckily, I have another one that'll fit, as long as I can get that drilled out without stripping everything out. So, par for the course. All right, brand new radiator is in. And we have a problem though. This right here is bigger than this hose. So I need one that'll go from that size to that size. And then the same thing on the bottom, that right there is too big for this hose. So I need one that goes from this size to the bigger size. So 2 like transition hoses. But I get that, and then the radiator will be good to go. And I tell you what, this whole front bracket, putting it in, it completely shored up the front end of this truck. So the left side is lifted back up. Everything's stable and solid. Everything is level. It's solid as a rock. So making progress. I gotta just go find different radiator hoses. Okay, got new radiator hoses. As you can see, they're not exactly the right size, so I'm gonna have to order, at least this one here, a better one. But I got it, should work for now. I got this about half full. I'm gonna go ahead and start it, get some stuff pumped through. Make sure the pump's working, make sure there's no leaks before I completely fill that up, because I don't wanna drain it and waste another $50 worth of antifreeze. Also got a temporary spring. I ordered the proper spring, but got a temporary spring put in the back wheel, so I got those put back on, the brakes put back together. So still waiting on the brake line kit, but the plan for now is just to start this up with this new radiator and do a little break-in run. All right, I don't see any leaks. She's running, new radiator's holding. Everything looks good. So I'm gonna shut it down, fill up the radiator, and I'm gonna put this in. All right, here we go. This will stop all the smoking. Look at that, it's like honey. It's like rebuilding an engine right here in about 30 seconds. Complete rebuild, Craigslist rebuild. Lost the receipts. Here we go. This should do it. We'll see if it's all it's cracked up to be. All right, I'm gonna finish filling the radiator, then we'll start running it again. All right, just letting it run for a little bit and break in. Everything looks good. Still no leaks. Got the radiator full. Got that oil in. We'll see if it cleans up that compression and the blow-by that you see coming out. I did want to point out something back here. With it in neutral, that wheel turns, but I did a little research. I thought it was going to be a problem, but I did a little research, and it turns out it's normal. It's just because it's up off the jack. So it's not really a problem. When it's sitting on the ground, it's not going to turn. It just wants to go. It wants to run. So, all right. Just gonna let it sit and run for a little bit. idle, get everything broke in, get that oil flushed down through all the rings, get that radiator fluid, the antifreeze pumped through everywhere. Looks like the belt's doing good, the pump's doing good, no leaks. Got clearance on the fan. We're good to go. All right, it's beer 30, little Yingling. I'm gonna go ahead and let that run for about 10 minutes. Get broke in. I just went through and ran through all the gears while it's up on the lift. 1, 2, 3, 4 in reverse. Everything works, everything's good. So I think that's gonna wrap it up. We'll call it an episode. We'll see y'all next time. Thanks for watching.